Hello everybody. Today I'm going to read from the book of Ruth. It's 3 pages here in my Bible. It's about 4 chapters. And I'm going to read from the New King James Version. It's kind of the easiest version to read from and keep everybody together. And I normally prefer the King James Version when I'm reading by myself, but since we're reading together, I'm going to use this. So, the book of Ruth. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to dwell in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Euphrates of Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to the country of Moab and remained there. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left her 2 sons. Now they took wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years. Then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So the woman survived her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them bread. Therefore she went out from the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on their way to return to the land of Judah. And Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. So she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. And they said to her, Surely we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb that may be your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband tonight, and should also bear sons, would you wait for them till they were grown? Would you restrain yourselves from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieved me very much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. Then they lifted up their voices and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her, and she said, Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave you, or to turn back from the following after you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. I want to take a little break here, just to talk to the audience about where it says, return to your gods. Because a lot of people look at the fact that they mention other gods in the Bible and take it at face value, and they will say, you got to read this, and it's an example of there being other gods proven in the Bible. But that's not really what it's saying. Just because it mentions that there are other gods people worship doesn't mean they're actual true gods. It just means it's a belief system that someone has. And I just thought that I should bring that up before I continue. So I think I was at verse 18. When she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped to speak to her. Now the two of them went until they came to Bethlehem, and it happened, when they had come to Bethlehem, that all the city was excited because of them. And the women said, "Is this Naomi?" But she said to them, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me?" So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned from the country of Moab. Now they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. There was a relative of Naomi's husband, a man of great wealth, of the family of Elimelech. His name was Boaz. So Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, "Please let me go to the field and glean heads of grain after him, in whose sight I may find favor." And she said to her, "Go, my daughter." Then she left and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was the family of Elimelech. Now behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said to the reapers, "The Lord be with you." And they answered him, "The Lord bless you." Then Boaz said to his servant, who was in charge of the reapers, "Whose young woman is this?" So the servant who was in charge of the reapers answered and said, "It is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab." And she said, "Please let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves." So she came and has continued from morning until now, though she rested a little in the house. Then Boaz said to Ruth, "You will listen to my daughter, will you not?" "You will listen, my daughter, will you not? Do not go to glean in another field, nor go from here, but stay close by me, young woman. Let your eyes be on the field which they reap, and go after them. Have I not commanded the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink from what the young men have drawn." So she fell on her face, bowed down to the ground, and said to him, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" And Boaz answered and said to her, "It has been fully reported to me, all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, and now you have left your father and your mother in the land of your birth, and have come to a people whom you did not know. The Lord repay you for your work, and a full reward be given you by the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge." Then she said, "Let me find favor in your sight, my lord, for you have comforted me and have spoken kindly to your maidservant, though I am not like one of your maidservants." Now Boaz said to her at mealtime, "Come here and eat of the bread, and dip your pieces of bread in vinegar." So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed parched grain to her, and she ate and was satisfied and kept back. And when she rose up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, "Let her glean, even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. Also let grain from the bundles fall purposely for her. Leave it, that she may glean, and do not rebuke her." So she glanced in the field until evening, and beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. Then she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw that what she had gleaned, so she brought back out and gave to her what she had kept back after she had been satisfied. And her mother-in-law said to her, "Where have you gleaned today, and where did you work? Blessed be the one who took notice of you. So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked, and said, the man's name with whom I worked today is Boaz. Then Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who has not forsaken his kindness to the living and the dead. And Naomi said to her, This man is a relation of ours, one of our close relatives. Ruth the Moabitess said, He also said to me, You shall stay close by my young men until they have finished all my harvest. And Naomi said to Ruth her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, and that people do not meet you in any other field. So she stayed close by the young women of Boaz to glean until the end of barley harvest and wheat harvest, and she dwelt with her mother-in-law. About to go on to chapter 3. Then Naomi said to her mother-in-law, Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, My daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Now Boaz, whose young women you were with, is he not our relative? In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Therefore wash yourself and anoint yourself, put on your best garment, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Then it shall be, when he lies down, that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go in, uncover his feet, and lie down, and he will tell you what you should do. And she said to her, All that you said to me I will do. So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law instructed her. And after Boaz had eaten and drinken, his heart was cheerful. He went and lied down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came softly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Now it happened at midnight that the man was startled and turned himself, and there a woman was lying at his feet. And he said, Who are you? So she answered, I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, if you are a close relative. Then she said, Blessed are you, the Lord, my daughter, for you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, in that you did not go after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request, for all the people in my town know that you are a virtuous woman. Now it is true that I am a close relative. However, there is a relative closer than I. Stay this night, and in the morning it shall be that if he will perform the duty of a close relative for you, good, let him do it. But if he does not want to perform duty for you, then I will perform the duty for you. As the Lord lives, lie down until morning. So she lay down on his feet until morning, and she arose before one could recognize another. Then she said, Do not let it be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. Also he said, Bring the shawl that is on you and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 ephahs of barley, and laid it on her. Then she went into the city. When she came to her mother-in-law, she said, Is that you, my daughter? Then she told her all that the man had done for her. And she said, These 6 ephahs of barley he gave me for you, and for he said to me, Do not go empty-handed to your mother-in-law. Then she said, Sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will turn out. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there. And behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, Come aside, friend, sit down here. So he came aside and sat down. and he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, "Sit down here." So they sat down. Then he said to the close relative, "Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. And I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of the people, if you will redeem it. Redeem it. Excuse me. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me that I may know, for there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you." And he said, "I will redeem it." Then Boaz said, "On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabites, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance." And the close relative said, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it." Now this was a custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm anything, one man took off his sandal and gave it to another, and this was confirmation in Israel. Therefore the close relative said to Boaz, "Buy it yourself." So he took off his sandal. And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's, from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabites, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren, and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day." And all the people who were at the gate and the elders said, "We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, the two who built the house of Israel. And may you prosper in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem. May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring which the Lord will give you from this young woman." So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and when he went in to her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Then the woman said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a close relative, and may his name be famous in Israel. And may he be a restorer of your life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has borne to him." Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her bosom, and became a nurse to him. Also the neighbor women gave him a name, saying, "There is a son born to Naomi." And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse and the father of David. Now this is the genealogy of Perez. Perez begot Hezron. Hezron begot Ram, and Ram begot Amminadab. Amminadab begot Nishon, and Nishon begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed. Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David. That's the end of the book of Ruth. So, I started with this one because it's an important concept, the kinsman redeemer. It's a pretty important biblical concept that not a lot of my friends knew about, so I thought I'd bring it up here. I'm sorry about how difficult it was to get through. I'm not really good at pronouncing Hebrew names. I work on it, but reading in general out loud is kind of difficult for me, and then being in front of a camera also is. But I'm going to present a few slides, and then we'll end the video after that. So the book of Ruth and the kinsman redeemer. We'll start with Acts 17:11. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word daily with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. Important themes: the kinsman redeemer, Gentiles and Jews, and the marriage supper of the Lord. The kinsman redeemer. Boaz is a type for Christ, who is later referenced as the kinsman redeemer. And there's some important rules that the kinsman redeemer has to follow. He could say no. We saw that around the end of the chapter. 4 conditions needed to be met. He had to be qualified as a kinsman. He had to be able to perform. He had to be willing, and he had to assume all obligations. So that's what happens when he says that you have to pay off Ruth. The original kinsman redeemer can't pay off Ruth, but he can buy the property. So he decides to no longer take up the kinsman redeemer mantle in the story. Marriage supper of the Lord. Like Ruth and Boaz in the book of Ruth, Christ and the church will later be together. Christ's return matches Boaz when he returns for Ruth. This is important for marriage in general because the book shows the Jewish ceremony for marriage. Many people today will tell you that it's okay and even healthy to live together before marriage. But if we are going to do it the godly way, we must wait until marriage for a life together. What's important to note is because Boaz is a type for Christ, and Boaz leaves to get everything ready and sign documents, and it's not really signing documents exactly, it's more of just formal agreements, but getting elders together and having witnesses together. He's really just having meetings and running things so that he can get to Ruth. And Christ is kind of doing the same thing right now for us. He went to heaven to prepare a place for us, and in time he'll come back and get us. These are the reasons it's so important to keep the concept of the kinsman redeemer from the book of Ruth in mind, especially when you read the book of Ruth, because you have to remember that Boaz is a type for Christ. And that's all we're going to go over for tonight. I hope you have a good rest of your day.